Most of trading is driven by two things, fear and greed. Once you start to recognize that, then you can do something about it in your life. Because fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of not making enough, the fear of losing everything can strongly influence you. And then greed. I've known a very good friend of mine who was doing extremely well in some stocks, and he had decided the stock was going to keep on going up. But the stock market had different ideas. And instead of being a millionaire, he lost a lot of that money because of greed.
Hey, welcome back. We're on Pat Mesiti's best-selling author podcast, and Malcolm Kleu, who is a co-author in the book The Lightbulb Moment, is here to share with us his secrets of life and secrets of success. Malcolm has a combination of indicators that have proven to be successful in all markets and time durations. And what does that mean? Well, it means that Malcolm was a big fan of the stock market and the forex market. He comes from a mechanical engineering background. He's currently an olive farmer. So he's going to be telling us what we need to do, what's maybe been blocking us, stopping us, why we've been failing, how we can persevere, overcome, and succeed. So Malcolm, glad to be speaking with you.
Hello, Robert. Yeah, it's really great to catch up with you again. And such a beautiful day. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as well. And so we introduced you a little bit, but what is your current focus and passion?
Well, at the moment, I've just lost my mouse, but that's all right. I've just recovered my mouse.
Oh, no.
Sorry. As you can see from the background, that's from our farm. I've turned from an engineer into a farmer, which is really a great way of going. But I have worked out that farming and retirement do not equate. But hey, there's so many, good challenges, learning new things, setting up new systems. It's been great.
Wonderful. And you're staying in shape that way and keeping your mind active. And, there's something to be said about being slightly humorous and embracing the various absurdities, right? Like you and I were trying to get this interview to work on a slow connection, and we were both being very patient and maybe even laughing a little bit about just the various tech misfortunes. And even just now, you lost your mouse cursor and you recovered it. And so I imagine that with your farming adventures, there's been some frustrations, aggravations where you've had to kind of use your many decades of patience and engineering background, et cetera, to solve some problems.
Yes, very true, very true. I've had a few medical challenges in the last 2 years as well, just to add to the mix, because we only moved to the farm 2 years ago. And this year, the olive trees all had, 1,000 olive trees all had flowers, but only 150 had any reasonable amount of fruit. And when we eventually got all the equipment fixed up and ready to press, the oil wouldn't separate from the juice in the olives. So we got a total of 600 milliliters out of all of those trees. So that's a challenge. But again, it's one of the life lessons that I've learned. You have to learn what either the market wants, or what the farm wants, or nature wants, and work accordingly. It's a very big learning thing to remember. Learn what nature or what the market wants. Yeah.
Yes. There are some harsh realities of life. Like I have a 4-year-old son, and he had a birthday about a month ago, and we got him like a marble run set where, like, you create these structures and you roll a marble down and they go in all sorts of loops, and he's having a lot of fun. And it reminded me of, like, when I was a kid, it was fun to be creative in that way. But then later on, when you go to school and you have to learn about things like physics, or you have to like build physical projects, sometimes you run up against like a lot of the laws of nature just will not match up with your imagination, and then you have to adjust, and your imagination will not beat nature, right? Nature wins, and sometimes you don't even know why something failed, or you have to start over from scratch. And that's true, I'm sure, with the stock market, right? Sometimes just bad things happen and you can't fight it, and you have to be the one to adjust. You can't change reality to beat you. And so let's talk about what you've done with the stock market, right? Because you had your career as the mechanical engineer, and then you wanted this way to create your nest egg and build passive income. So tell us about your stock market adventures.
Well, I had the opportunity at the end of 2002 to take control of my own super fund rather than letting the big super fund guys control it. And I thought I could do better, possibly worse, or at least equivalent to them. And over the years, I've proved all three of those as correct. A friend really helped me select stocks, and in 2003 to 2007, the market really was going so well, and my super fund did excellently well. One year I even got over 100% growth, which was amazing. I was blown away. But then the GFC hit, and the one thing I'd never learned to do with the stock market at that stage was I never learned when to sell. And that was a big problem in the GFC, because the market started going down, and I thought, oh, should I sell? Should I sell? Oh, the market's going up again. I'll hold on. And so it went until I'd lost half of my fortune, which was a major issue. But it became a major turning point for me because I was able to change that adversity into an opportunity of learning about stock market, share trading in much greater depth. And so my learning started at that stage, which was really good. The journey is still continuing, but I tried looking at the fundamental analysis, and then I went to the technical analysis, which I was a lot more comfortable with, looking at charts, because everything that's happening in the world can impact whichever stock or forex that you're looking at. And that stock chart, or the chart, is a summary of everything that happens there. All those people are doing the fundamental analysis, all of those who just throw in a random bid, it's all reflected there. So I thought, might as well use that. So I've studied and done courses through numerous trainers, which have really assisted me. But as an engineer, I was always able to have a good look at various things to solve a problem. I never had my own wonderful creation and design, but I was able to pull things from various sources and put them together into a design to come up with a working, strong solution. So I did the same thing, and I've picked things out of different people's approaches and put them together, which has helped me tremendously. I mean, initially, I was just looking for one indicator that I could have used in that GFC to tell me, you should have been in the market, you should have been out the market. That indicator is still standing very strong and very helpful. And after all of that studying and that, I thought, well, maybe I can assist some others, because we are really in turbulent times now in the world. And we're going to have to watch what happens with our own lives, within the lives of the market, the forex market, your share portfolio. And this might be able to assist some people to decide when to get in, when to get out. Yes. Does that answer something you asked me?
It does. That we need to do our best to be in control of our own destiny. We need to be seeking knowledge and like learn from others so that way we don't repeat their mistakes and don't be so arrogant that to think that, oh, well, I can just learn it on my own. Like take an actual course, right? Learn from someone that's actually done this. And there's definitely nothing wrong in combining knowledge. Like you think of the first smartphone was probably terrible, right? The first electric car, I think they invented in 1908. And I mean, that doesn't sound very good at all. So like the first draft, the first attempt of any new technology is probably pretty shaky. And even when you think about, say, like Apple products, right? They say wait until the third generation to buy the iPhone or iPad. Wait until they've gotten all the bugs out. So there's definitely that value in seeking knowledge, but then also in looking at where others have failed or what you can do to shortcut their mistakes. And so you say that there's value in learning charting. And so is there any sort of like low hanging fruit or like any specific like types of charts someone should be looking at?
Well, I would use bar charts with particularly one moving average, but it's got a few tweaks to it. And that becomes the main driver for the system I've now come up with. And yeah, I've been through more than 3 iterations. I've written my own indicators. I've used different charting programs to actually get to this stage. But I've now been using these indicators for over 2 years, 3 years, and they're proving successful in all time frames. You know, you can trade on a daily basis and you're looking at 10-minute charts. They work there. You can use it on daily charts where you've got a bar for each day, or a point for each day. You can use it on weekly charts. So you have to select what time period you want to have a look at, but you should not be so fixed to that time period, because if the overall market has changed, then you might need to change the time period that you're looking at to make the best opportunities available to yourself. Yeah, I think that's very important to remember and also determine how much time you've got available to do your checking of the stock market.
Right. So have your strategy, but also be somewhat flexible in that strategy. And speaking of this idea of having like a limited time window to do this, do you ever think about your ratio of time spent learning versus time spent acting? Because you think, well, if you're always in learning mode, you're stuck in analysis paralysis, but if there's too much acting, then you might make some foolish decisions. So do you ever think about this when you're figuring out, well, how much am I learning the software, figuring out my plan and testing it? Do you give any consideration to learning versus acting?
During the recovery period for myself from that GFC, I was psychologically most probably damaged by it. And I got to the stage of analysis led to paralysis. And also not knowing enough. I was out of the stock market for a number of years, trying to figure out what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I used a number of people's systems during that stage. And I was trying to write what I learned then. It's probably better if you're going to try and do things yourself to use a little bit of your funds to do things yourself, but the majority of them use a tried and true system, even if it's giving you lower returns, or you think giving you lower returns. That way, you've actually got still a positive growth, but you're allowing yourself that time to learn, to adapt, to change. And then as your system improves, you can start switching over to the majority of your funds under your own control. That was a big learning curve for me. Yeah. To just allow yourself the space to undertake that. but make use. I had to make use of a lot of other people's learnings. I learned a lot from my own mistakes. They say a fool learns from their own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. If anybody listening to this wants to choose between being a fool and a wise man, go for the wise man. Learn from others' mistakes. And I've made a lot of them. And I've learned a lot from others who were wise. Yeah. So allow yourself time, structure your investments such that you can trial new systems, but keep your capital safe.
Very nice. It's like an 80-20 rule, right? And like I think about this in business where I'm just like, well, I don't want to be stuck doing what I've always been doing, but I also want to experiment with some sort of new venture. So I say, well, if I have enough time and focus to do both, then I kind of have a similar mindset. I'm like, well, what's tried and true, what's working, what's making me money right now, that'll be my 80%. But if there's some new bright, shiny object, some new software I can make, or some new traffic source, some new way of making money, I'll put 20% of my time into that. So that way I'm not throwing out what's working for something new. And I'm also not ignoring the future possibilities, right? And if this new experiment pays off, then I can incorporate that into my system. And that way I get close to the best of both worlds. And so that's wonderful to think about. You're hedging your bets in a way. And as you know, with the stock market, there's all kinds of ways to hedge your bets and limit your risk. And what you've been mentioning a lot here is kind of the emotional, psychological aspect of a lot of this, right? Of the anguish of, well, the stock dropped. Should I double down? Should I cut my losses? And it goes back up. What should I do? And so what have you learned as far as keeping your cool and staying in like logic-based decisions? Like what can you, speaking of learning from the mistakes, what can you pass on to us about keeping those emotions at bay, but also being helped by them?
Most of trading is driven by two things, fear and greed. Once you start to recognize that, then you can do something about it in your life. Because fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of not making enough, the fear of losing everything can strongly influence you. And then greed. I've known a very good friend of mine who was doing extremely well in some stocks, and he had decided the stock was going to keep on going up. But the stock market had different ideas. And instead of being a millionaire, he lost a lot of that money because of greed. And I've come to recognize that in myself and through that turbulent time. And you nearly have to sit back and watch your own emotions and how you feel when you come to trade, especially, to see how you react, what you're actually doing. You have to watch yourself very carefully. And this is why having at least one very strong indicator can say to you, I know that I'm wanting to make more money and get in there, and my buddies have all said this stock is going to go well. And so the greed starts taking over in your mind. But if you can look at a chart and you see at that stage that, say, your main indicator is saying, this is now, the stock is now in a downtrend, stay out of it. There's a very strong indicator to you that don't just get involved with the hype, step back, stay calm, look at the indicators. It's learning to know yourself. And there's a lot of psychology in stock market trading in that area. There are a number of books, and I can share those with people as we go.
Well, great. And I didn't even know that existed, right? And I think about there was, I mean, I think there was probably a time in my life, maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, when I went crazy with all the stock market stuff. And I wish I had more information, especially about the psychology and a lot of this kind of talk of emotional intelligence and self-awareness. It's all fairly new, isn't it? Like the information was around, but the idea that it should be more integrated into what we do in order to actually succeed better, it seems like it's a new idea. Like they were kind of kept separate. It was like, oh, well, your own personal self-improvement, that's over to the side. But it seems like the more I talk to people such as yourself and other industries, it's just like this whole getting a handle on your mind and your emotion and the tricks it plays on you. It's really, it seems to be just so important. And so you hear about with stock traders, they keep things like a journal, right? And they like a trading journal. And when they make these kind of big decisions, they say like, here's what I was thinking, here's what I decided, here's why I did that. Do you do anything of that sort, of have any kind of tools to be able to accurately look back at the past?
I record all my trades. Um, Personally, myself, diaries and journals, I've never learned to be consistent with record keeping there, but I know it's a very good idea. I do make a little comment against in my record keeping system about those trades. Van Tharp has an extremely good course that I took at the cost of a few dollars to actually learn more about my own psychology and being able to look at that kind of thing. But yes, if you can journal and it's in your nature, it's a really great idea. But you also have to look back at that journal to be able to learn something from it. And again, you have to make time for doing that. You know, it also, what I'm saying is you have to learn to know yourself and your own tendencies. I mean, I get into journaling for a while and then I lose it. It's just not within my nature of doing it. It was like that. It's just as an engineer and working, trying to record daily activities and what I was doing, and that I could do it for a while, but no, it just wasn't me. But
Fair
if you
enough.
can do it, it's really a good idea.
Yeah, if it's in your nature, and if it's not, then don't beat yourself up. There's other ways to get to your destination. And so with all of your journeys, with the ups and downs and with just the roller coaster that is the stock market and the forex market, was there any moment that really surprised you? Anything that was just like completely unexpected that you feel like passing along?
Um, well, once or twice I've actually been able to buy and sell exactly at the high point or the low point, which was amazing. I was quite chuffed with that. But I have learned that chasing those extremes and trying to get all of your trades at those extremes isn't a successful strategy. It's the slow, the careful approach and seeing what the trend is. Because my system is a trend following system that I use. I'm not trying to decide what the market will do. I'm seeing where it is at the moment, how that relates. What is this annoying plane doing, interfering here with our sound? We'll just have to put up with these things as we go.
Yeah, just like life, just like the unpredictability that there is.
Yes, yes. Um, but I've also learned that if you're not feeling emotionally, physically well enough, pull back from the trading. If you actually don't have enough time, pull back from the trading. Like in this period, while I've been learning a lot about the farm and through some medical incidents, I've had to pull back from trading because I haven't been in the right space to apply that time. But now I'm back fit and working and it's improving really nicely. And So it's time for trading again. And one then has to have a look at that overall share market and see what is actually happening. What time period should I be trading in? Yeah, I think hopefully that's covered the answer.
It has, and that's a very good insight that in order to succeed, we need to have our mental and physical health up to snuff. And if you're not feeling well, then take a break and get back to it later. And there's definitely value in just being physically well enough, because if you're not physically well, that will kind of hinder your thinking. And also a big part of the mental health is having put enough time and thought into what you're doing. And we've all been in that situation where maybe we had the paper that we had to turn in at the last minute at school, or we had some work assignment and we were late on it, and we were just like rushing from one thing to the next, and we definitely were not at our best, and we sometimes made really bad decisions. And when you're making bad decisions when it comes to your stock trading and your own financial future, then that can be like a downward spiral, right? You make a bad trade, you get stuck in it, and then later on you have to kind of undo what you did in a bad state of mind. And so that's definitely helpful to, in general, take care of yourself as best you can, both physically and mentally. That way you can make some of these sound decisions. And so we want to make sure that now that we got a little bit of a taste about you and your thought process and what you do, your website is trading.com.au. So tell us about some next steps here. If someone wants to know more about you and what you have to say about the stock market and trading, where should we go? What should we do?
Well, jump onto the website. I've had a few technical issues with it, but that's being sorted now. And click on the links, drop me a line, and I'm setting up to run a course shortly, an introductory course, free, gratis for nothing. We'll teach you about some aspects of charting. Plus, I'll also show you that one really important indicator that can change your life. And that indicator is worthwhile. It really is. You asked earlier, was there one particular point that I'd learned? I think the biggest learning was listen to my wife. She has some intuitive things about me and my life. I should have listened to her. Because in the GFC earlier on, she said, get out of the market, but greed took over. So if you have a spouse, a partner, listen to them as well. But yeah, jump on the website now. It's going to offer you the opportunity of learning about that one indicator on a free, gratis for nothing course. It'll be about an hour or something, and I'm sure you'll find it tremendous help in doing that.
Very nice. And, we mentioned earlier about this whole 80-20 idea. So you figure out what this one indicator is, and will that solve all of your financial problems? No. But if that's the big, indication of what you should be doing or not doing with your trading, that will definitely help you out with your master plan and help you to make better decisions that are not based on emotion, greed, fear, whatever random news you hear, whatever your friend says that day. Now you can actually think more like an engineer/farmer like Mr. Malcolm Kleu and pursue this based on data and have all of these extra facts and figures that help you with your decision making. So the website is malfrey-trading.com.au. That's MALFREY-trading.com.au. And we will definitely take that other advice to heed about listening to your spouse, because your spouse cares about you. Two brains are better than one. She knows you, or your spouse knows you, and they're kind of looking at it from an outside perspective. And sometimes it's easy to get just carried away with your own thinking. So there's definitely that value in that second brain to help you and to just make those better decisions. But the very first step for you in podcast land to make those better decisions is go to malfrey-trading.com.au and check out that free gratis course right there about trading better in the stock market. And it's been wonderful speaking to you, Mr. Malcolm, about just your life's adventures, ups and downs, and what we can learn from you in the process.
Thank you, Robert. It's really been great. And may all your stocks rise before you.